in a couple of minutes. So let me pull up my randomizer and pull up 10 names that are currently already ticket holders for Squad Up Summit. Go to squadupsummit.com and we're going to pull some names for a day with Pace. And then what we're going to do, a couple of things I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about, I already did Squad Up Summit. We're going to talk about Day with Pace winners. I'm going to do that right now. So reward the people that show up on time. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about semesters and what that actually means. And for the people that are partners with us in the Subto fund, what semesters we have coming up. And then what I'm going to do is give you guys about a 20-minute, 30-minute education of the steps to get started in multifamily investing. And we might do a little bit of Q&A. And after that Q&A, I'm going to invite my team, the people who run the Subto fund, to come on here, and we're going to talk about underwriting a 21-unit deal that we have. We're going to talk about how we structured the deal with Creative Finance. We're going to talk about how we found that deal, and then we'll do a little bit of Q&A. Are you guys cool with this today? Cool. I always want to bring a lot of value and make sure that I change people's lives as much as I possibly can. What I learn is as I get into the business and I learn the things that I now know, I look back at why was it so hard for me? And it's because honestly, I just needed somebody to teach it to me a little bit differently. I needed to be a little bit more hands-on and be in live sessions a lot more. That's my personality. I don't know about you guys, but let me pull this up. We're going to be naming people out of the Squad Up Summit ticket holders right now. Okay. Ooh, wow. We've got a lot of people actually. I just pulled, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Holy moly. I'm going to name 16 people and I'm going to put them in the side chat. All right. So I'm going to turn the side chat off. I know the side chat is blowing up right now. Guys, by the way, before we get started, do everybody a favor. We got a couple thousand, we got over 1,000 people in here today. We've also got a couple hundred people on YouTube right now. Does it include plane and hotel tickets? No, I'm not going to pay. You imagine that? You imagine me paying for 8 people's flight and hotel tickets for every Thursday for a year, 8 people every Thursday. Oh my word. Let me tell you where this idea came from. The idea of spending a day with Pace is that for the last 3 or 4 years, I've had people, mostly real estate investors, will reach out to me and say, hey, can I fly my team out and spend the day with you and your team? I'll pay you 25 grand. And I've always said no, because for me, I've always wanted to just spend time with the community and give that time, my time away for free. And so I've always said no. And then I started getting on big stages a couple of years ago, about 4 years ago, and they tell me stuff like, hey, we have a charity auction and we want you to give something away. And I'm like, okay, how about a day on set of my TV show on A&E? They can see what a TV show looks like. And they go, oh, that'd be cool. And so we auctioned off one of those a couple of years ago and people paid like 18 grand to come and spend 2 hours on set with me on the TV show. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Money didn't come to me. It went to charity, which was awesome. And I'm like, man, people are serious. Like they want to spend the day with me. Okay, cool. So the last couple of years I've been giving and donating my 1 day of my life to a charity that my buddy Tarl Yarber runs. And I think last year they sold a day with me to somebody for $43,000. And so I look at that and I'm like, wow, okay. And there's 2 people that actually bought it. One person paid like 16 grand the year before. The other person paid 43,000 this year. And I just said, wow, you know what I should be doing is going back to my community and giving a day with Pace to people and see if they want to come and spend, hotel costs and flight costs to come and hang out with me for a day. And of course, most people are going to come out to Arizona probably the day before, hang out all day with me the next day. And then the third day, they'll probably hang out with the Arizona community or the Montana community before they head home. They'll make sure that their trip is worth not just coming out for 1 day. They'll come out for a couple of days, network with other people, et cetera. Okay. So I decided to just start giving it away. And I give it away to people that I want to reward and people who are action takers. And I want to hang out with people who are consistent themselves and show up on a daily basis. That's one of the most foundational elements that I look for in people that I collaborate with. So that's why I came up with the Day with Pace. People that are buying Squad Up Summit tickets, they're taking action, they're getting in person with the community, they're going to the family reunion event, which is Squad Up Summit. And so what I've done out of the Squad Up Summit ticket holders, I think we have about 1,600 people so far that have bought tickets to Squad Up Summit. I've named I think like 25% of those people are now coming to spend a day with me on a random Thursday over the next year. And they are being bundled into groups of people. They get paired with those groups of people. And I'm already seeing those groups of people communicating with each other and going, let's get ready to come and spend the day with Pace. And they're texting with each other. And there's like literally 30 or 40 group chats going on with the people that are coming and spend the day with me. And they're helping each other get deals. And they're using it as a motivation, kind of like when you go run a race, like a Ragnar race or a marathon. When you put it on the calendar, it holds you accountable. And so a lot of people are using that day with Pace as a way to hold themselves accountable and help each other get to a point where like, man, I want to have momentum going into that day with Pace rather than use that day with Pace as a way to build my momentum. And I think that's the right way to think about it, right? So let's go through and give 16. Rinda Emick says, Amy Misnick needs a day with Pace. Rinda, she has spent like 4 days with me over the last couple of weeks. She's been hanging out in Arizona. We've been hanging out a ton. She's been in my house. We've gone to dinner. We've had a lot of fun with each other. She's sat here while I recorded a couple of things the last couple of days. It's been a lot of fun. Okay, I'm turning the chat off for a couple of seconds. 16 names are going in the side chat right now. These are people that have already bought Squad Up Summit tickets. And they are already, now here's what happens when you buy Squad Up Summit tickets. You buy the ticket, your name automatically goes into a spreadsheet, and my team will pull it out and randomize it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull people out of the side chat today that say, hey, I just bought a ticket. Okay. So in about 3 minutes, I'm just going to pull 5, 6, 7 people out of the side chat that says, I've bought a ticket. And I'm going to name people and reward you guys for showing up on time. Cool. Can you guys do emojis while the chat is off? Let's see. Can you guys do like hearts, stuff like that? Oh, sick. All right. This webinar is all sorts of advanced. All right, here we go. So here are the 16 names that I just pulled out. 1, 2, 3. There you go. We've got Blake Thackeray, Christopher Michaels, Dustin Gorosky. Actually, he sent me a voice memo on Instagram. I have not replied to him yet. Greg Boehner, Jessica Smith, John Chan, Liz Schwab, Mallory Me. Oh, I love Mallory Meehan. Mallory Meehan sent me this. She is a professor at Penn State, and she had me speak at Penn State last year. We went and hung out with her in Penn State for a couple of days. Man, she's so awesome. That's cool. I love her. She's also the only professor at Penn State that actually teaches real estate. She teaches creative finance. She's one of our Subto community members, and she just crushes it. She's the professor of real estate at Penn State. So I get to hang out with her. Man, that's a great group. Like, you guys get to hang out with a professor of real estate at Penn State. All right. Maritza Howard, love her. She's been in the community for over 3 years. She's so solid. Maritza Howard, Armando Montrond, Jetty Chen Hicks, Kenny Durant, Lynn Plata, Mike Stitz, Sharon Kay, and Tommy Reed. Tommy Reed has the handwriting of like J.R.R. Tolkien. I mean, literally, it looks like he writes like an elf. It's crazy. Amazing people, amazing groups. So you guys have won a day with Pace for being action takers and coming to Squad Up Summit. So let's pull 5 people out of the side chat. And should we pull 5 people? Let's see. How many people did we pull here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I should pull 8 people out today. What do you guys think? Think we should pull 8 people out and create a group of people? Okay. Who has bought a Squad Up Summit ticket today or recently? Okay. Here we go. Jennifer Champion, number 1. Jennifer Champion. I see you in the side chat. I love me some Jennifer Champion. Okay, let me write these down for my team. So you're number 1, Jennifer Champion. All right, let's see. James Pecora. And by the way, everybody that gets named today, my team is not aware of this. And so please email. Let me tell you guys the email real quick. The email you need to email is Sarabi. She's such an important person in my life. S, that's her initial, at subto.com. Okay. Sarabi, S at subto.com. And by the way, when you write emails, they don't have to be capitalized. I get a lot of people that are like older fuddy-duddies that don't use a lot of emails, and they will actually capitalize the letters. It doesn't matter if they are capitalized or not capitalized, just let you know. So Jennifer Champion and James Pecora, you are the first two. We're going to name 6 more people here in just a second. But please, I'm giving you instructions right now. Email saravi@subto.com and let her know that I randomly selected you today. All right. By the way, guys, yes, my face is all flushed because I just went running and trying to get my workout in, trying to have the perfect life balance. All right. Here we go. Let's light up the chat. Tell me you've bought a ticket today. By the way, we're going to do this probably for the next 4 or 5 days. So even if you don't get selected right now, you should go get a ticket. We're going to be naming people during the Elephant Challenge tonight. We're going to be naming people over the weekend. So make sure you get your ticket, squadupsummit.com. Okay, here we go. Okay, Paul Lutter really wants Rob Salmeron. Okay, so I'm going to let Paul nominate Rob Salmeron. See, what's cool about this, I don't know Rob, and so this gives me an opportunity to meet a lot of these people. Okay, KC Carlson. All right, guys, I've got 4 more. 4 more. Light up the chat. Let me pull out some names. Michael Reed. I hate to award the people that like blow up the chat the most, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to do it. Michael Reed, you email Saravi. All right, let's see. Let's see. I can't believe it. I've been praying. Thank you, Pace. Yeah, that's cool. You got one. Okay, cool. Let's see here. You know what we should do for the last 4? Actually, what do we have? I've named 5. I got to name 3 more, right? We're going to do 8 today. Okay, Kevin, I'm going to award the people that bought today. Well, a couple of people that bought today. Okay. Kevin Schauweiler. I think is how you pronounce your name. I'm sorry. This is why I'm doing this. Is I get to meet a lot of you guys. Schauweiler. Okay, cool. Pick Tim Yu. Okay, Theodore Kim and Tim Yu. I'm picking both of you. You know what I'm going to do is that rounds off our 8. I'm going to do 1 more. I'm always about just overdoing it. You know, Tim Yu and Theodore Kim. Okay, we've got 1. Let's see here. Jennifer Champion. Do me a favor. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull Jennifer Champion. I'll let Jennifer pick the last person out of the side chat, okay? Because when you've got just 2 women in the group, you want to make sure that the women feel really comfortable. Jennifer, what's up?
Hey.
You know, I don't know if I can ever get you to ever sound excited.
What? I'm always excited. You should have seen me one night. You called my name. My hands went up to the ceiling.
I love it. Okay, Jennifer, will you pull out one of your homies from the community in the side chat? Maybe preferably a woman. Let's see. Somebody just said Nina. You know what, Nina? Nina. I'll pull you. Jennifer, you can pick somebody too, but Nina, I will pull you. Nina Afshar. Okay. Jennifer,
okay, I'm gonna pick someone I don't know.
You're gonna pick somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
Can you make sure it's a woman, please? Because I want to make sure that we round it off with a little bit more women in this group. We've got like 6 guys.
Stephanie Yang.
Stephanie Yang. I love it. Okay, there you go. As you guys can see, I'm not picking favorites. We're doing this truly randomly. And if you guys want, maybe I'll pick like 5 more people at the end of this. So, ooh, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Jason Lombardi, I love you. You're such an amazing leader in this community. Jason Lombardi, I'm picking you right now for the next group. I freaking love you, bro. I am picking favorites with Jason Lombardi. Jason Lombardi, you will be the first on the next group, and I'll name more people at the end of the training today. Jennifer, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Freaking love our community. I love being here. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Thank you for coming in on time. We had about 600 people. Just so you know why I kill time in the beginning. I kill time and I give the rewards in the beginning to reward the people that show up on time, of course. But I have to kill time because what happens is 600 people showed up 20 minutes late. Isn't that interesting? If you are one of those people, I want you to write the word guilty in the side chat. Come on, guilty. Guilty. Come on. It's okay. The first step to recovery is always admitting. Okay. Taking responsibility. All right. Cool. We did squatupsummit.com. Make sure you get your tickets. We'll name another 5 people at the end. People that buy tickets today. We will name you at the end right out of the side chat. So squatupsummit.com. Make sure you guys get your tickets to that. Now, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about semesters for a couple of minutes. And then in about 8 minutes, we're going to jump into the training. Okay. This actually is part of the training, but please pull out your pens and paper. This is so important. There are so many things that I wish I learned when I jumped into multifamily. When I looked at multifamily, I just thought multifamily was super daunting. And to be honest with you, it really is. When you go and start a fund, okay, the fund, starting your own fund, which we'll talk about in a little bit, starting your own fund requires payroll. It requires a building. It requires confidence. It requires credibility. It requires momentum. It requires your ability to have assets coming in the door, getting them under contract, raising money successfully, managing those assets properly. And the money coming in the door is coming from investors that have sacrificed their entire life to save up money to then invest with you. How many people today feel confident that you could start a fund, go raise $5 million, find the asset, put it in your portfolio, and manage that asset properly? How many people, give me an honest answer? I'm going to tell you right now, absolutely 99.9% of people should be saying no. Okay. Most of the people that I've talked to about this, they go and take like education fund, like how to start a fund. They go spend 30 grand just to go, oh my gosh, I'm glad I took the education, but wow, I learned that this is like a big boys game. And that's what I learned too. I put about $200,000 in 4 years of my life into multifamily education. And if I could have gone back, I would have done it very differently. And today, for the first 15 minutes of this training, I'm going to tell you what I would have done differently. And I would have taken baby steps. And are you guys cool with me telling you the baby steps of getting started in multifamily? And at one point in your life, you should have a fund? Cool. So there are actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps that I'm going to go through today. And then we'll bring in the fund. We'll talk about an asset that we have under contract, a deal that we're doing, and then we're going to do some underwriting. And we'll bring in a couple of amazing people that run the Subto fund. And, but this is the beginning of the training. Here's the thing that I feel like everybody needs. I feel like everybody needs to start. And this is by the way, this is absolutely self-serving. Okay. I am going to self-serve here. What I decided to do is I decided to start the Subto fund. Okay. The Subto fund is a fund, which is a group of team members that go out and find creative finance assets, manage those assets, bring in partners to bring in capital, and go and focus entirely on creative finance. And what I decided to do was do something different. What I decided to do was treat the investors that come in and invest in our fund. How many people are my partner in the Subto fund today? Today, like you are my partner today. Julie Burkhart. Okay. See all the me's? Those people can say, I am partners with Pace on 160 units currently, and you are about to get another 21 units in your portfolio. We're closing very, very shortly on this asset, and we're going to talk about that asset today. So all of you that have invested in the Subto fund, you guys get to have the credibility, the momentum, and more importantly, you get the semesters that we are giving. This is something nobody on the planet has ever done. So let me pull up semesters and show you guys what the heck that even means. For those of you guys that are kind of newer to the community, we have something called semesters. So for me, I feel like there's all sorts of like micro skills that you have to learn in order to one day have your own fund. Raising money, managing expectations, finding assets, all of these types of things. And so we decided to turn our community into a merit badge system. So anybody that's a partner with us in the Subto fund gets access to all of these merit badges. So let me show you something kind of cool. Okay, so how many people in here are aware of merit badges for like scouts? Okay, my parents would not allow me to drive a car or date anybody Even though I was 16, my parents would not have allowed me to drive a car, get a license, or even go date unless I had my Eagle Scout. Okay. Now my Eagle Scout is like one of the highest honors you can get in the scouting world. And it requires you to earn a lot of these merit badges, right? These merit badges are individual micro skills. Okay. And these micro skills are like machinery, orienteering, oceanography, nature, railroading, skating, theater, traffic safety, truck transportation, right? All sorts of different micro skills. Now, if you think about real estate investing this same way, guys, name some micro skills that you need to learn in order to become an absolute killer in real estate. Negotiating, underwriting, raising capital, communicating, finding deals, comping, talking to people, caring, okay? Networking, staying in your lane. Okay, I like that. Okay, disposition, critical thinking, endurance, safety. Okay, all of these are individual micro skills, all right? So what we've been doing at the Subto Fund is anybody that's a partner with us, anybody that invests with us in the Subto Fund, I have a couple of people who are like, how do I invest in the Subto Fund? Here's what I would do right now. If you guys are looking to invest with us, get access to these semesters, I would email the team and get on a phone call with them. Invest at subtofund.com. Okay, that's number one. You can always go there, just email the team. You'll be talking to Brittany usually, okay? Number two, you can go, just go to subtofund.com. Okay, either one. There you go. Julie Burkhart, she's a partner. Okay, Lizeth says, I just invested a few days ago. There you go. Semesters are for all investors, my friends, everybody. Whether you're a Gator, you're Subto, top tier TC, whatever, the badges are for everybody. So what is the badge that we are currently teaching right now? So everybody as an investor in the fund is getting our team, okay? The actual team you have partnered with, they are teaching you how to be, yes, this is really live. Nick G says, is this really live? Yes, Nick G, this is really live. It is March 15th, 10:30 a.m. It is really live. All right. You knucklehead. This is what happens, right? This is what happens when people show up late. They just like, is this really live? That's literally, he's like, hold on, let me jump in there and ask people if it's live. Touch my nose. No, I got 1:30. Well, Bob, you're on the East Coast, bro. Y'all are on the East Coast. I'm West Coast. It's 10:30. All right. Tell me what to do, guys. I'll do it right now. I'll prove to you it's live. Jump. Okay, jump. We are real. There you go. Oh, you guys couldn't see if I did a cartwheel. And I definitely cannot do a moonwalk. Pick my nose. That's easy all day. I can do that. Okay. So when you're learning multifamily, it's nice to be able to learn from an actual fund that you have invested in. This was the biggest difference maker for me. I went and spent like $200,000 in multifamily education. I went to seminars. I went to all these things, and I just basically kept spending money on education. And I'm like, I wish I would have just taken the money that I invested in education for multifamily and just put it into a deal. Why? Well, because I would actually have credibility. I would be able to say, I own these units. I'm a limited partner, yes, but I can say I own these units. Now, what we decided to do was go above and beyond that. So every quarter, this quarter right now, we are teaching people what a fund is and what a fund does. So you'll earn a badge this semester. This is going on live right now. I think we've already taught 5 weeks of this class to all. How many people have been going to that class, by the way, for the last 5 weeks? And have you been enjoying that class? There you go. Got a lot of me's in the side chat. Rate it out of 1 out of 10. Oh, it's a 15. Okay, cool. Thank you. A lot of the members that run that class will be in here in a couple minutes. You pay nothing for the class, right? We give it to you as a bonus for being a partner with us, because what we want you to do is go through the steps to become your own fund at some point. And that's not something that other funds like Subto Fund, that's not what other funds do. They go, give us your money. We'll give you a return in 5 years. What we're trying to do is we're trying to give you a return on your investment now. We want you to get educated on all these micro skills in multifamily. So let's go through and I'll tell you a couple of the semesters that are coming up, the merit badges that are coming up next semester. What do you guys think the merit badge coming up for next semester is? I think there's a couple of people already know this. Okay, the merit badge that is coming up next semester is Fund of Funds. Okay, Fund of Funds. That is coming up next semester. Now, why is that so helpful? Write this down. Here's what I'm going to give you guys. Here's the steps I would have taken. Here's the steps I would have taken to start in multifamily if I could have started all over again. What I did is I went and I spent $200,000, and this $200,000 was broken up into a bunch of things. Number one, I spent $50,000 with a multifamily course that was like a high level networking with a lot of people. I got a lot of value out of it, but I did nothing with it. That's on me. That's not on them, but that's a lot of money. I then spent $1,500 a month for basically 4 years in another multifamily group. And that was good, but I wasn't invested in any deals with them. And then the list goes on and on. I've paid $10,000 here, $15,000 there. I've, had securities attorneys that we've hired and all sorts of things that we've invested in, but my education is a little over $200,000. Okay, it's a lot. Now, what I wish I could have done is I wish I did not invest money in a multifamily education. What I actually wish I did is I wish I just deployed my $200,000 into an actual investment. And that investment, let's say hypothetically, Subto fund. Yes, this is self-serving. We obviously have a fund. We are always raising money. And because of this 21 unit deal we're going to talk about, the Subto fund just opened back up to raise capital for this 21 unit seller finance deal. I would have rather just put my $200,000 into the Subto fund. Now, why? Well, because the first step I would have taken in jumping in multifamily is I would have become a partner on someone else's back. Okay, we call this being an LP. What does LP stand for, guys? What does LP stand for? Yeah, see, there you go. You've got Jock Rosario says, I wish I would have done the same thing. I spent $100,000 on multifamily education, Jock is saying, and he should have just put it into an actual deal. Okay, limited partner. Okay, so you can become an actual partner. So for example, here's what a partner does for you. This is where I would be taking notes, okay? This is where, in my opinion, this is where you should start. Become a partner in someone else's deal, off someone else's back. What does that mean? That means, for example, Subto Fund, right, has a team. We have a gentleman named Ted Head who runs the fund. He's awesome. We've got a team of 7 people that are running this fund. Does anybody feel confident to go and hire 7 people right now and have payroll of 7 people? And do you even know what these positions are that you would hire? No, it's scary, right? That's super scary. So you've got acquisitions, you've got investor relations, you've got asset management, and you've got admin, right? Currently. Plus we've got outside finance people, all of that kind of stuff. Cool. So that is what a fund looks like. A fund is a team of people that are looking for assets, right? You've got the acquisition department. You've got a team that's raising capital. That would be Brittany. You've got people like Jamie, who you're going to meet today, that manage the actual assets and run the team, and they're boots on the ground running with the contractors, et cetera. That's what a fund looks like. Think about the payroll that is associated with that. It's expensive, right? And so what I would do is I would rather go, I'm going to invest with this team. And when I'm going out there and when I get to step number 2, I'll get to 2 right now, or in about 2 minutes, I'll get to step number 2. I now get the credibility of being a partner on 160 or 21 units. Now we're adding. So I get the credibility of being a 181 unit partner. So one thing that we do a little bit different, this is something that's going to be going out in the next week or so. Anybody that is a partner in the Subto fund will be getting all the photos, all the video, all the drone shots. And 2 weeks ago, we'll do the same thing multiple times, but 2 weeks ago, I invited all of our partners to come and hang out with me in Tucson at the 160 unit deal we bought for $20 million on seller finance. And so you get the ability to use that asset as credibility for step number 2, okay? Yeah, Kyle Carga says, that was awesome. Actually, Kyle came and hung out with me in the van. We drove all the way down there in my van, came all the way back. And being able to be boots on the ground on an asset you own, be able to take photos, create videos for your own website, for your own business cards, for your own Instagram, for your own YouTube, all of those types of things give us credibility, right? Being able to say, hey, I'm a partner on 181 units. If you are doing outreach, okay, so now you're thinking, I want to go do my own deals. So let's talk about this. Step number 2, I now want to go do my own deals. If I want to go do my own deals, what am I doing, right? This is me. I'm either A, reaching out to sellers directly, or B, working with brokers, or C, working with wholesalers who have multifamily deals under contract. Do you agree that all the sellers on multifamily properties are probably going to want to know who is the person that I'm going to seller finance this property to? And do you think that sellers might ask the question, if they are being represented by a broker, like, well, who's this person? What's their experience? Do they own other assets? Can you show me the other assets? Okay. So for example, the 160 unit deal that we all own in the Subto fund, when we worked with that broker, Ryan's going to tell you the story of that. The broker said, well, what is your assets under management look like? We call it AUM, assets under management. Or they'll say, what's your schedule of real estate owned? They call it an SREO. Schedule of real estate owned is a list of properties that you own with equity and debt and cash flow. They want to see your P&L. So I had to show that to go buy this 160 unit deal. The team at Subto Fund leveraged my credibility and my current portfolio to go out and buy that 160 unit deal on seller finance. Okay. There you go. Dorica says, I didn't close on a creative multifamily deal for that reason alone. Okay, so now you understand why I'm telling you this is the way to get started in multifamily. Is now think about this. If I'm going out and I become a partner, let's say in the Subto Fund, I can now start using the credibility, the videos, the photos, the documentation, the website, all of those types of things. Shauna says, where are the funds invested? They're invested into the Subto Fund, and they go towards assets or renovations. That's what they're invested in. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit later today. We'll have Ryan and we'll have Jamie come in and talk about that. Okay, so if I'm going out and I'm doing outreach to sellers, brokers, and wholesalers, what do you think is going to happen when I say, no, I don't own any assets in my portfolio? Do you think a seller of a 40 unit or let's say larger is going to allow you to seller finance a 40 unit deal when you have nothing in your portfolio and no credibility? No. So investing as an LP in the Subto Fund not only gives you an education through the semesters, right? The merit badges that we will continue to teach, but you get to invest and get credibility and be able to say, I'm a partner on 181 units. Okay, so now when you say, yeah, actually, we own 181 units as a partnership. Here are the addresses. Here's the team that runs that. If you need to talk to somebody, here's the information. Okay, now you get to leverage the credibility of being a partner. Does this all make sense to everybody? Now, this is your own personal portfolio. Right? This has nothing, this group of outreach and doing all that kind of stuff, this group, me going out and calling a 40 unit, 100 unit and doing my own outreach does not have anything to do with the Subto Fund. The Subto Fund that you've invested in and become a partner on just gives you the credibility so you can go and do your own outreach for your own portfolio. Does that make sense, everybody? Give me a yes. Okay. So one thing that we had not done yet, and this is something we've been taking a couple of months on, is building credibility packets for our investors. So we're currently working on credibility packets for you. So you can say, hey, I'm a partner in this fund. We own this many units, videos, photos, all of that kind of stuff. So you can put them on your own website. That's probably 2 to 4 weeks away. Okay. Nobody does this. Okay. Nobody does this. Nobody ever does this. And more importantly, nobody will ever give their investors, right, their partners, an education behind the scenes. And what was different for me is that when I finally invested in somebody else's deal, I was able to actually apply my knowledge to an asset that I actually owned and ask questions that were pertinent to something that was real rather than asking questions about something that did not exist. And for me, that was the world. That meant the world to me, is that I could actually ask real live questions. Okay. Enzo says assets under management. And what was the other? Schedule of real estate owned, SREO. Your broker that you're working with, the real estate broker you're working with, is going to ask you, okay, yeah, no problem. Happy to get the seller going with you. But before we sign an LOI, letter of intent, okay, is there a monetary return for the Subto fund? Of course there is. We'll talk about that later today. Of course you'll get, Rinda Emick says, I'm confused. Is there a difference of what we are partnered on between the accredited and CF fund? We're not going to talk about that today, Rinda. That could be a whole 30-minute conversation. I would email invest@subtofund.com and ask the team that question, okay? Does the percentage of ownership matter in terms of credibility? No. I've never had a broker say, well, what percent of that asset do you own? Never had that. Never once has that ever happened to me. It's always, what are you a partner on? What's your track history? All of that kind of stuff. Yeah, Jennifer Champion says, I've never been asked that either. Great question. Okay, cool. So now what I would be doing is this. So you're basically doing two things at this point, right? Step number one is invest in somebody else's fund so you can gain the credibility in the multifamily space. Step number two is start doing your own portfolio, creative finance wise, right? Doing your outreach and finding your own deals and negotiating and using step one as credibility for step number two. Can we all say, yes, I agree, you understand, we can move on to step number three? Okay, cool. All right. By the way, guys, we have about 1,600 people in here today. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Yes, we are live. Yes, we are hanging out, having a good time. Okay. Now, next step that I would do, and I would have done so much faster, okay? I would have jumped into one of the greatest hacks of multifamily that nobody ever talks about is fund of funds. Okay. Now, why fund of funds? Fund of funds is such an amazing hack. There's people that charge $30,000 to teach this method to you. 30 grand for an education on fund of funds. We teach this for free inside of the Subto fund as one of our merit badges. We teach you guys how to go and do that. Okay. It's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy. I mean, think about college, right? College is, people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on college. I'd rather spend $30,000 on fund of funds than ever go to college, right? College was a waste of time for 90% of people, but it is a lot of money, right? For you to learn that. And so what we do is we want our investors to learn how to go raise capital themselves. So what is fund of funds? Let's talk about that for just a couple of minutes. By the way, I'm going to bring the team up here in about 15 minutes. I've got just 3 more steps right after this. Okay, 3 more steps right after this, and then we'll bring the team up. We'll talk about a 21 unit. We'll talk about the opportunity to invest with us. Okay. All right. So fund of funds. What does that mean? Imagine a fund, right? We've already talked about this. A fund is, you've got the head of a fund. Our guy's name is Ted, and ironically, his last name is Head, and he's the head of our fund. You've got Ted. Then you've got 2 people in an acquisition department, right? They're out there looking for deals. You've got 2 people in the investor relations department. Okay. We call it IR, the investor relations department. They're the ones that are full-time raising money. Okay. Then you've got asset management. Then you've got admin and some other things. You've got outside counsel. You've got a CFO. You've got all these things. Do we all see a fund is actually a pretty substantial burden? Okay. Makes sense? Give me a yes that everybody understands that a fund is a massive, massive burden. And so I see a lot of people that will go out and they'll go, oh, I'm going to start a fund. No, you're not. You're going to hemorrhage money. You're going to fail. And you're going to go, I don't want to get into multifamily. It's too hard, right? It's challenging, right? Your acquisition team is constantly pushing the investor relations team. The investor relations team is then in turn pushing the acquisition department. There's this, okay, do we have enough assets? Do we have enough money? Do we have enough this? Oh my gosh, how are we? It's so challenging, okay? Dylan says, love you, Pace. Will you be giving out your LOI today and talking about smaller multifamily investments? Yes, absolutely. We'll show you guys an LOI. We'll do all that stuff, okay? We'll do some Q&A at the end as well, all right? Just hang tight. Just hang tight, my friends. Has anybody learned anything yet? Okay, cool. We always start a little slower. We do kind of the basics, and then we'll bring in an actual asset. We'll talk about a story, how we found it. We'll underwrite it. We'll do all of those things today. Just hang tight with us, all right? Now, for those of you guys that can't stick around and you want to invest in the Subto fund, email the team. Say invest@subtofund.com and just say, hey, I want to invest. Can I get on a phone call with somebody and ask you questions? Okay. Another thing you could do is just go to subtofund.com, and I think you could book a call. I'm not quite sure on there, but yeah, there you go. Juanita says, I need a better understanding. Perfect. Email the team, invest@subtofund.com, and say, hey, I need to get on a phone call with somebody. Okay. Cool. So this is a fund. I know this seems stupid, but honestly, when somebody says a fund, I'm going to start a fund, I'm like, in my mind, I couldn't really materialize what it looked like. Now that I own a fund and I see how sizable this is, I always ask the question, why would somebody want to do this? Well, at some point you do want to do this, but this is usually 3 to 5 years down the road once you've started multifamily, and now you've got a ton of credibility, you've got a ton of understanding, you've got momentum, and you've got money, and you've got all these types of things. Gina says, can you invest from a self-directed retirement account? Absolutely, yes. Any of your retirement accounts, you can invest in the Subto fund, absolutely. So what's a better way to do this? Instead of starting my own fund, what if I let the Subto fund shoulder all of this burden and I start my own fund? Okay, let's call it the fund of funds, where I have just me. And all I do is I go and I learn how to raise capital from my own relationships, my own people, and I learn the valuable skill of raising capital. And what I do is I raise capital for another fund. And for that, I get paid, right? I get paid in actual cash to do that. I can also get paid in equity to do that as well. And I can actually gain ownership by starting a fund of funds. So what's cool about a fund of funds is that as me, this person right here, I go out and I talk to my friends, my family, people in my sphere. I can tell them I am raising capital for my fund. What does my fund do? And you can then use our team. So this entire team in a fund of funds structure, this team becomes your team. And so when you're talking to your investors and you're talking to people you're raising money for, you get to be able to use this team and all of the people on this team as your fund. So you don't have to cover the payroll. You don't have to worry about the building. You don't have to worry about the website and all of those types of things. It is called a fund of funds. So this is the third step. If it was me, I would have started here. I would have invested as a partner in somebody else's fund. I would have gained the credibility. I would have been able to say, I have 181 units. I would have said, here's the address, here's the thing, here's my credibility, here's my videos, here's my all that kind of stuff. I would then start utilizing that credibility to go out and look at smaller 2 to 4 unit multifamily, 12 unit multifamily, and just start acquiring those for my own portfolio. And then the next step I would do is I'd say, all right, I want to get on the road to starting my own fund one day. Okay. There you go. Catch Grant says, so I create a fund that now invests into a bigger fund. That is correct. Okay. That is correct. That is exactly what you're doing. You're leveraging the back of a much larger fund to then gain credibility to say, I have raised capital for bigger assets. This is what I've done. And you can start saying, Nick says, what exactly is a fund of funds? Nick, did you just show up? Do you need to be barked at? I think Nick needs to be barked at just a little bit. What do you guys think? Nick, what up, bro?
Hey, what's good?
Okay, so fund of funds. What do you not understand where I just explained? What's missing in your mind?
So I understood what you were saying about how you can then go and raise private money. You can then go raise capital.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what exactly? It's not that confusing. But I was just wondering if you could just summarize it really quick.
Okay, no problem. Tell me where I'm missing where I'm missing you. Okay, I'll say it one more time and just tell me where I'm missing you, and I'll hammer on the part that maybe you're missing. So this is why I always build the runway before we do takeoff. So Nick, Do you want to start a fund based on what I just explained of what a fund looks like and all of those salaries and payroll and all that kind of stuff? Is that something you want to go out and do today?
That's a pretty big operation.
Right. So answer is yes or no.
No.
Okay. So at one point in your life, you probably want to have a fund, right? You want to be bigger. And that is the ultimate goal. It's kind of the pot at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. Okay. When you are building a fund, the purpose of a fund is for you to go out and acquire assets, make a bunch of money on it, have a team that's figuring out the exact type of asset you want to go after, give your investors a return, and at the same time, because you're partnering with a lot of people, you can go out and buy a lot more assets a lot faster. And that is the goal of a fund, right? A lot more assets, a lot faster, bring people with you. That is the goal primarily of a fund, okay? So obviously there's the incentive for building a fund. However, in order to build a fund, how much credibility do you have to have? How much track history do you have to have? How comfortable are you going out and raising money from people into your fund if you don't have a dedicated acquisition department, a dedicated asset management department, a dedicated whatever? Is that going to be daunting for you to go, hey guys, I'm putting a fund together. I have no track history. I have no acquisition department. I have no management. I don't have any, anybody that has track history above and beyond me. Please give me $100,000 to invest in this fund with me. Does that sound like something you'd want to go out and do today?
I would, yes.
You would go and take an investor's money when you have no track history.
Well, no, I mean, I don't have a track record. I don't have a track record.
Okay, cool. So you don't want to do that, is what you're saying.
It wouldn't be feasible.
Awesome, cool. So starting a fund, this is what I was saying about a lot of people will go out, they'll go get educated on starting a fund. That costs $30,000, okay? People will go and pay, I don't want to name their names because I'm not criticizing them, but a lot of people go, you should start a fund. Come to my seminar. I'll teach you how to raise money and go start a fund. Starting a fund is not as simple as just raising money. It's putting a team of people together that cost monthly payroll, whether you're making money or you're not. So what I'm trying to say with a fund is that that's a very daunting, experienced person's task that is well-funded with tons of momentum. It's not something for the everyday person. Are we all on the same page about a fund? Nick G, I want to make sure, because you were the one that had the question, I want to make sure that you and I have a conversation before I pull you off the screen. Nick G, are we on the same page about what a fund is and how daunting it can be?
Yes.
Okay. So what a fund of funds is you go start an entity called your own fund. Okay. It's a fund. And the purpose of that fund is to actually invest into a larger fund. And what that does is you can now go out and very confidently go raise money from your sphere. You can learn how to market. You can learn how to pitch. You can learn how to do all of these things with the backing of a much larger fund that says, yes, Nick is our partner. Okay. That is what we call, you are the fund of funds. I am the fund. Okay. You are the fund of my fund, right? Fund of funds. And what you get to do is you say, my thesis is investing in Subto fund, and I'm bringing my partners in. They're cutting checks to me, Nick, and that money is then going and investing into Subto fund. Now, what benefit do you get for that? One, you get to go out and do some of the hardest acts of participating as a fund, the activities of being a fund without all the pains, the costs, the stress. You don't have to find the deals because Subto fund finds the deals. You don't have to raise all the money for the deal. So for example, people who have done fund of funds with me, let's say I'm raising $10 million in Subto fund. Somebody will come to me and go, hey, Pace, I want to have the practice of doing a fund without all the overhead and all of the stuff. Can I be a fund of your fund? Absolutely. How much would you like to raise? They go, I'd like to start with $250,000. Are you okay with that? I go, yeah, sure. That's cool. So I go raise 9.75 million, and that person of the fund of funds raises 250,000. And for that, they can get paid some cash up front and they can get paid some equity. So they are actually raising money and participating in the fund. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the advantage in your mind now of why you would start a fund of funds before you would go and do your own fund?
There's a lot less overhead and probably a lot less risk.
Yes, so much less risk. The risk is on us, the fund, right? You have the credibility. Let's say one of your investors asks a question you don't have the answer to. Couldn't you just tell them to talk to Brittany at the Subto fund? And you go, yeah, absolutely. Talk to my investor relations department. They'd be happy to answer that question for you. So you don't have to have all the answers. You have the team that has all of the answers, right? That is what we call fund of funds. Make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So a lot of people don't even know that a fund of funds exists. So what they do is they go out and they spend all this money trying to create their own fund. And they're like, I don't know where the deals are coming from. I don't know where the money's coming from, but I know that I want to start a fund like Grant Cardone with 12,000 units and Brandon Turner with 12,000 units and Pace Marby with, 3,000 units, or Ken McElroy with 9,000 units. I know in order for me to be a billionaire worth $100 million, I've got to have a fund and I've got to bring people along for the ride. The problem is starting as a fund with all of the payroll, the experience and all of that kind of stuff. The success rate is 99% of people are going to fail. 1% of people are going to succeed. With a fund of funds, okay? If you are in fund of funds and you go, Pace, I want to go raise $500,000 for your fund. And for that, I want to get paid a percentage. I want to get some cash, all of that kind of stuff. What happens if you only raise $380,000 of your goal of $500,000?
So essentially if I'm understanding this right, essentially you're being rewarded. You could be rewarded an equity stake for raising more capital.
That is correct. Yep. You get equity stake, you get cash up front as well. You actually get paid to raise capital. So you get paid today money as well. The only legal way to raise money for a multifamily deal is to be a fund or a fund of funds. It's the only legal way. You can't come to me and go, hey, I have a friend that wants to invest in Subto fund. Here's $100,000. Can I get paid for that? It's illegal. You cannot do that. You have to be a fund of funds or own your own fund in order to raise capital. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so you can get paid, which is cool. What about a capital raiser for a syndication? So Michael, read the difference. Everybody write this down. I'll tell you what the difference between a syndication and a fund is, okay? Nick, do you know what the difference between a fund and a syndication is?
No, not exactly. My guess is it's probably something to do with accredited investing.
No, it's so simple. And again, these are the types of things I wish I learned faster. The difference between a syndication and a fund is a syndication is raising capital from investors for a specific address and a specific property. Hey guys, we're raising money for this house, for this property. Here's the address. It's closing on this day. We need your money by this day. That's a syndication, okay? A fund is raising capital from investors for a type of asset class that you may or may not have under contract yet. That's the only difference between a syndication and a fund. So some people syndicate, means we're going to go find an asset, then raise money. Other people go start a fund, which means we're going to raise money and then go find an asset. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's crazy how simple the difference is, and nobody ever explains it properly, but that's the difference, okay? And by the way, it took me like 3 weeks to truly understand that. And I was like, why didn't people just explain it the way I explained it, right? So again, starting your fund is expensive and risky and all of these types of things. And you don't even know how to find the assets yet, right? So you have to assemble a team that either knows how to find the assets. They cost money. They're not free. They're not only commission-based. There are salary. People that are looking for multifamily deals, you hire an acquisition person in, let's say, single family wholesale, right? Acquisition on single family. We could lock up a deal every day. And that acquisition person could get a commission every day. So that's easy to have a commission structure in single family because you're doing so many transactions. Does that make sense, Nick?
Yes.
But when you're doing multifamily, you might only do one deal a year. Truly, you might do one massive deal a year. Do you think your acquisition department wants to be on commission when they're only doing one deal a year? Or do you think they need to be on payroll?
Payroll.
There you go. So again, funds are expensive. And so what I wish I would have done way faster, way earlier is I wish I would have done, I've done 2 fund of funds myself. I was the fund of funds. I leveraged my investors into my fund of funds and I put their money into the fund and I got paid to do so. Okay. I've done that twice. I wish I did it 5 years earlier because it would have given me, one, more credibility. Two, I would have been able to see how everything operated at a different level. I would have gone through the practice of raising money and seeing how that works. There's so many things you learn when you raise money. So for example, people will, let's say, I'll do a big training and people go, oh my gosh, I want to invest in the Subto fund. We'll get $10 million of people that go, I want to invest. And so you get excited that $10 million of people are going to invest. And then what ends up happening is only like $2.1 million actually ends up investing. It's like that whole process is a freaking merit badge by itself of going through the war story of raising money, getting people to commit, and only like 21% of people actually send the money all the way in, because it's a process to get big chunks of money into your fund. That's a skill you have to acquire. Wouldn't you say, Nick?
Yes.
So it's easier to acquire that skill when you have no risk if you cannot raise the money. So for example, let's say Subto fund is raising 10 million bucks. You come to me and you go, Pace, I want to be part of your fund through a fund of funds. How much are you raising? I go, I'm raising 10 million. You say, I want to be a fund of funds. Are you okay with that? I go, yeah, absolutely. How much do you think you can raise, Nick? Nick, you go, I think I can raise 500,000, but don't count on me. I don't want that pressure and that stress that the deal doesn't work out if I don't raise my 500,000. I go, no problem. I could raise 10 million without you. I don't need you. But if you want to participate, then come in, you go raise your $500,000. Now you're raising capital with no stress, no pressure. You get to go through that process of learning how to raise capital without that monkey on your back of, oh my gosh, if I don't raise this $500,000, the deal isn't going to close and I can't renovate the property and I can't afford to pay my team. That is the purpose of a fund of funds primarily. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Have I hammered that home of exactly what a fund of funds is efficiently and to the point where you go, I got it?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the question, Nick, because I think if you had that question, then other people probably needed me to, was that helpful, everybody? Give me a yes if that was super helpful. Okay, great. So that's step number 3 is I would do a fund of funds. So what we are doing inside of the Subto fund, everybody that is a partner inside the Subto fund is next semester, we are teaching how to do a fund of funds through a merit badge, a 12-week class that we're giving for free to all of our partners in the Subto fund. We're going to show you and teach you how to go and launch your own fund of funds. Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, Cherie says, is it free? You have to be a partner with us. So invest in Subto fund. Once you invest in Subto fund, you're a partner with us, you get access to that class. Again, how many people are already taking the classes in the Subto fund right now? Give me a me in the side chat. All right. So you see all the people that are me, they're saying me. How much money did you guys pay for those classes? Okay. You see what they're saying? $0, free, nothing. I didn't pay anything for that. What we are doing is giving $1 million education from our fund. Ryan, Jamie, Brittany, Ted Head, our team is educating our investors on how to do these things and how to actually build their own multifamily. By you being a partner with us, we're rewarding you with a high class, badass education in multifamily. Does that make sense? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Okay, cool. Do I give that away for free on YouTube? No, we give it to our partners. We want people who have invested in an asset to learn about the asset and how to go find more of those assets and to get that education behind the scenes. So of course your investment is going into a real asset, right? You'll see the assets today as I bring up Ryan and I bring up Jamie. You'll see the assets that you will own with us. But on top of that, yes, you're invested in those assets. You own those assets. Your money goes towards the renovation and the contractors and the paint, and that's where your money's going. But on top of that, our fund, the Subto fund, actually gives you a full-fledged multifamily education through a series of 12-week classes. Okay, make sense? All right, cool. Now, next step, this is kind of like side by side. I wouldn't say that this is go to 3 and then go to 4. I would say that this is like 3A or 3B, okay? If you do not want to do a fund of funds, which I think you'd be crazy to not, another thing that I've seen a lot of people do is they go and work for a fund, okay? Why? Why would I go work for a fund? Well, I can learn underwriting, comping, acquisitions, investor relations. I can work in a fund and actually be on payroll to be part of a fund. So that is a big part. It's paid education. Okay. So a lot of people, they go, what should my kids do? When my kids get a little bit older, I'm like, oh my gosh, tell your kids to either work at an escrow office, a closing attorney, or tell them to go and work inside of somebody's fund as like an intern for a year until they can find what department they want to work in. Oh my gosh, you imagine if all your kids skipped Chick-fil-A? Well, I don't know. Chick-fil-A would be cool because then you could own one of the franchises, but imagine all your kids skipping all those summer jobs and all those other things and going, I'm just going to go work for a fund at age 18, and I'm going to be admin or follow up or anything else, help out with the technology, maybe the social media, and you get your foot in the door at a fund. How freaking cool would that be at 18 to 21 years old? That is amazing advice that I wish I could have been told when I was 20, because that's where I literally would have started there. Let me just work for a fund. Okay. All right. Now, step number 5. Okay, step number 5. You guys ready for this? Once you've done a fund of funds successfully, you've raised money, you've done the fund of funds, what I would then do, because now what you're doing is you're learning how to acquire and find and negotiate, and you're doing all of these things by getting educated at Subto Fund. What I would do is step number 5, for the people that like the whiteboard. No, Ijania did not miss step 4. What I said is, instead of looking at this as step 4, I said 3A or 3B. So instead of me going 3A, 3B, and then going to 4, you could do both. So let's just go 3 is fund of funds, 4 is work for a fund. But I didn't want that to be a dedicated number because some people are like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to work for a fund. So I switched it up. Is it 3A, 3B? And so I'm skipping to 5. Does that make sense? Okay, so you didn't miss 4, you got 4, I just called it 3B. Cool. Now, on step number 5, what I would do is now you learn how to find deals. Let's say Subto Fund, you join Subto Fund, you're learning how to find deals, you're learning how to comp and underwrite and negotiate. Step number 5 is I would become a co-GP, okay? Co-GP is actually you go find the deal, you become a general partner, and you then come to me, Pace, and you go, hey, Pace, can we be co-GPs? Instead of me being an LP, LP means limited partner, GP means general partner. So if you find the deal, you can come to me, an art fund, and go, I want to be a co-GP. Because now what are you doing? Okay. Sure, Sharoni says, what is your multifamily buy box? That's probably something that would take up way too much time, and I really want to get to talking about the asset. Do you guys agree with that? We want to talk about underwriting and looking at these deals today? Okay. So sadly, I won't be able to answer every question today. I really only want to be on here an hour and a half, and I've spent an hour and 10 minutes just doing this, but has it been worth it, hearing all this 1 hour and 10 minutes? Has this been completely worth your time today? Cool. Ryan and Jamie will even be better than me, I promise you. Okay. So I would say co-GP would be your next step. Still, I would not start your own fund at this level because you're still leveraging somebody else who's more powerful than you in terms of payroll and the ability to stomach the costs. Okay. Norman Fuller says, what's the co-GP split? It depends on the deal, right? Let me ask you a question. Is the deal we're doing in North Carolina, California, what's the cap rate? What did we buy it at? What's the terms? How much involvement did you have? You answer that question for me, and then I can answer the question for you. Does that make sense? So every single deal is going to be split differently. What if, hypothetically, you find a lead and you're like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing lead, and the Subto Fund team, like Ryan, has to come in and negotiate and take it all the way to the finish line? Wouldn't you say that the split on the co-GP should be more heavily biased on Subto Fund? Make sense? Cool. So that question is a great question, but you got to understand that, well, what are you doing and what are you participating? Well, Pace, I don't know how to do marketing materials. I don't know how to negotiate. That's the stuff that we're teaching in the Subto Fund. So once you become a partner in the Subto Fund, every semester, we're going to be doing a new badge. Next quarter's badge is fund of funds. The next quarter's badge is how to find small multifamily deals. Okay. Then we'll do another badge, how to develop a pitch deck, how to raise capital. We'll continue on with the education so that you become more and more powerful in the multifamily realm. We will teach you for being a partner with us as a reward. Okay, as a reward. Of course, there's a financial benefit of investing, right? You get tax benefits, you get cash flow, you get a return on your investment. Yes. But then on top of it, we want you to get a return through education and actually getting a multifamily education that I wish I got when I spent the $200,000. Does that make sense? Are we all on the same page? Cool. Now, finally, after you do a deal or two as a co-GP, right? You found the deal, you bring the deal to a fund like Subto Fund, or maybe even Brandon Turner or somebody else. Say, hey, I have a deal. I have it under contract. Will you guys run this and let me be a co-GP? Okay. Norman Fuller says, can merit badges be done on your own pace? Yes, we are always doing a live one, but you can always go back and watch the ones that are pre-recorded. So right now we're doing the first merit badge. It's basically what is a fund and how's a fund put together, right? That's the first badge we are doing. Once that badge is completed, it's live every Wednesday right now. Once that badge is completed, it will go into a course that you can go back and watch for free. And then you can watch simultaneously. You can watch the live one that's being done, which would be Fund of Funds next semester. Once Fund of Fund is done, then that gets bundled in, goes into the course. You can go back and watch that. Then you can watch the next one live. Does that make sense? Okay. Gabriel Anderson says, I thought the safety was one. Yes, safety is one of the 7 badges we are currently teaching in the whole entire community. Safety badge, everybody's watching that right now. We've got Gator badges that are dedicated. We've got Subto badges that are dedicated, top tier TC badges that are dedicated, and Subto Fund badge that is dedicated. Okay, cool. Now the final step, okay, step 6 is finally, what do you think step 6 is? Start your own fund. That is step 6. Okay. And that is where I think most people that go and this is what I thought. Honestly, this is 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I thought this was step number 1. Adam Curry, my friend, I think you sneezed when I described step 4. What I talked about was, here, I'll fix it for you guys. Okay. Step 4 is work for a fund. Okay, remember me talking about that, Adam, today? Cool. So there you go. Those are the steps. So the people that are going out there, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, you want to save yourself from a lot of heartache. You go out there and people are like, let me show you how to go start your own multifamily fund or your own fund at all. Do we think starting a fund is step number 1? Or do you think starting a fund is step number 6? What people should be teaching you how to do is how to invest intelligently, how to underwrite, how to find deals, then how to become a fund of funds, then how to become a co-GP, and you compound. It's kind of like you get your high school education, you then get your bachelor's, then you get your master's, then you get your doctorate. And so I look at people that are like, I'm going to go get my fund. I'm going to go start my own fund. I'm like, so you're going to skip all of the education and all the bumps and bruises and the relationships that you need to acquire in order to have a fund. You're just going to go straight to a fund. And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, that's not going to work out well. Okay. Jessica says, can someone write the steps down in the chat for us multitaskers? Cool. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. So is that helpful for you guys to understand the steps of getting started and having your own fund and getting big in multifamily? Those are the basic steps. Now, what's cool is that our Subto Fund is teaching this through semesters, right? 3 months at a time, giving a free class for our partners as a reward of being a partner with us. And so this current semester, again, we're teaching what a fund is, how is it structured, what are the positions, who are the people in charge, how to underwrite, what's a buy box, all of those types of things, kind of the basics. And then the next semester is fund of funds. The next semester is how to find small multifamily, okay? Pace, is there a benefit of investing as accredited versus non-accredited with you? Yes. Guys, if you are an accredited investor, why would you invest as a non-accredited investor? That's ridiculous. If you are an accredited investor, why would you invest as a non-accredited investor? That's crazy. That's like you're so good at basketball. You've practiced all these years to be so good at basketball. And the NBA says, hey, Pace, do you want to come into the NBA? I go, no, I think I'm going to go play high school ball. What? Huh? Doesn't make any sense. If you are an accredited investor, then invest as an accredited investor. Okay. Cool. Let's bring up Ryan and Jamie and let's have a conversation about some new assets and where these deals came from. And let's talk about money that we're raising. Let's talk about potential returns. Let's talk about underwriting. Let's do some Q&A. Let's do all of that kind of stuff, okay? Sharice Day says, but seriously, how do we find a fund to work for? You could just go Google it, say multifamily fund near me, and then give them a call. Heaviest object on planet Earth, everybody. What's the heaviest object on planet Earth? This right here. People have the hardest time just picking this bad boy up, okay? And I can tell you, the gentleman that's coming and joining us right now, Ryan Wagner, doesn't have a problem with that. His right bicep is like 7 times bigger than his left bicep because he's constantly making phone calls and negotiating multifamily deals, okay? Let me introduce you to people that have way more experience actually in multifamily than I do. Ryan Wagner, right here, head of acquisitions at Subto Fund, been in multifamily and acquisitions for 15 years. And we've got Jamie Avery, who also has tremendous amount of experience in asset management, billions, not millions, billions of dollars in asset management. I'm going to pull myself off the screen, but you guys will still be able to hear me. Ryan and Jamie, who wants to run the next 30, 40 minutes?
Perfect. Yeah, Pace. I can run through it because there's a lot of information. I'm going to try to get through it all in 30 minutes. I mean, you're right. This could take hours. And the semesters is a great way to get all that hours of content.
So let me speak to that for just a minute, Ryan. I just want to share that the investors who are already invested in Subto Fund, we have put together an 8-week curriculum. So week 1, we've already done, we talked about what is what is multifamily in that asset class and how does it perform. Week 2 was about underwriting and originations and then transacting on the asset. Week 3 was about creative financing for commercial real estate and specifically multifamily. And then week 4, which I hosted myself, was about what is a fund and fund development and creating a fund of funds and creating your own business structure, LLCs, S-Corp, whatever that works for you. Next week, we get to hear from the great Brittany Schulman on investor relations, investing with self-directed IRAs, creating strategic partnerships. And then I get to come back in week 6 and speak about asset management and property management and how they're different and the value of both of them. And then week 7, there's some projects for people to work on. And then week 8, we have a Q&A. We get to talk to the whole team directly, about this specifically. So we've already put this together for you. We're already offering it to our current investors. It will be available to future investors. And as Pace was sharing, we have whole new semesters of information that will be coming up in the future.
Love it. Ryan, I think a good place to start is let's talk about the 160 unit deal that we already own. We're currently raising capital for that, guys, for renovations. We've got renovations already underway. We already own this asset. And I'd love to have Ryan tell the story of this 160 unit deal, how he found it, how he negotiated it, just to give you guys the runway. And then he'll jump into the 21 unit as well that we just got under contract. Ryan got under contract also with Creative Finance, and talk about the specifics of that deal. And then what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of Q&A at the end.
Perfect. All right. So that sounds great. Okay. So to give you guys kind of a little framework of how long this actually took, again, Pace nailed it. Like, I've been in the business for 15 years, cultivating relationships with brokers, right? So when we're talking multifamily, these bigger properties, you have to think as well, right? If you own a $20 million asset, are you going to just throw it out there and be like, hey, hopefully someone pays the price that I think it's worth? Or are you going to go and hire a professional to actually go out and get you the deemed best price that you could potentially get? So most properties in the multifamily world, they're going to hire a pro, even if it's off market, right? Like, this first deal was a marketed property. The second one was not. Both of them, though, still had brokers involved. Perfect. So the 160 unit property that we acquired is called, well, at the time, it was something like Via Alamos, right here, right? So they had a package put together. They were trying to get interest in the property, and they weren't really finding anyone. But so it was being marketed by a team in Phoenix. That's where I live. So I live in Phoenix. This is down in Green Valley, in and around the Tucson MSA. I've known this broker for years though, right? So during the last, call it 4 to 5 years, I've been keeping in touch with them saying, hey, how are you doing? Just building a friendship more than just a transactional relationship. So when I caught him more recently saying, hey, I have a certain buy box that I'm looking at, and I'm looking for assets that one, maybe in that larger kind of 100, 200 units. I want it to be a value add property. That means we're buying it, we're going to improve it, and then restabilize it at a higher value. But this fund is very specific, right? It's creative finance. So the market right now, and for the last, call it 12 months, has been challenging, primarily because of the debt, right? The credit market has frozen up. Interest rates are through the roof. When you're considering these big properties, the debt is a major factor, right? You're literally going out and asking for tens of millions of dollars in addition to what you're putting in as an investor. So I said to him, hey, listen, you're not getting much interest, primarily because of the debt. Most people go out, they need new financing. That's not what I want to do. What I want to do is, I heard that the property was owned for, gosh, it's been owned for 35 years. It was the original developer of the property. And this is all conversations, right? These are little tidbits of the conversation that you pick up on and then you utilize, because me knowing that, oh, listen, this was owned for 35 years by the original developer. One, that tells me, okay, it's the original developer, so he probably took care of the bones of the property. And two, he's owned it for such a long time, he probably has almost no debt on it. He either owns it entirely in equity, or he has a minimal loan, maybe for some renovation work, if he had to do some new roofs, or he had to renovate maybe a couple buildings for like a typical turn, which is just like floors and paint. Maybe he put a very, very small loan on it, which is exactly what he did. So we're looking at a $20 million asset, and he had something like $4 million of debt on it, because he just took some money off the table. He's in his 80s. He was living off that and the cash flow. And I came to him and said, hey, I have a structure that I can get to the value that we all know it's worth. I'm not going to overpay, but what I want to propose is a seller financed structure. So I work for a fund. Here's my principal. So I had to explain to him, one, who Pace was. This guy's in his 80s, so he generally didn't know who Pace was, right? His kids did, but he didn't. So I sent him, and this kind of goes into this credibility package, but I sent him Pace's SREO, that schedule of real estate owned, where I showed him and the broker, because all of what I'm doing is trying to build confidence that I can close. I'm able to buy that asset, even though me personally would never be able to do that.
Ryan, do you feel like every multifamily broker is going to ask for a schedule of real estate owned when you're doing some transaction at $20 million?
Yeah, I think every single broker owner and anyone that you're getting the deal from is going to ask for some level of track record. Like, what else do you own in the commercial space, right? So commercial, the way that I approach it and the way that I describe commercial real estate, multifamily being that specific commercial, is running a property like a business. You're looking at it with what the cash flow is able to generate, just like a business would. Totally different from single family world, right? Single family is not thought of like a business as much as commercial. So anyone that has a property or a broker, they're going to be like, okay, how good of a businessman are you? So let's see your track record. And what I did, Pace provided that to me. I filtered through, I was like, okay, he owns a lot of single family stuff. I'm not going to include that. What does he own or is a partner in that classifies him as a business owner in multifamily? And there was thousands of units, right? He probably could have been satisfied with a couple hundred, but Pace has thousands. Some of those are fund of funds. That's what he was talking about earlier. But I basically said, hey, Pace owns these thousands of units. Here's his schedule of real estate. He is a credible principal of a fund. We are raising money to go purchase this, do the renovations, and then restabilize it to sell within roughly 5 years. What I need from you, seller, is a structure that works for our fund, works for how I underwrote the deal, and because we were a new fund, I knew this was going to take a while, right? When you're working with banks, this is like one of the key things to think about when you're trying to source and you're looking at creative finance deals. The timing for underwriting and closing, and when you're operating under a fund, if you're trying to go out and get debt, that has a very specific timeline. So you're juggling, right? You're juggling between the contract, getting debt, and then what the cost of that is. And it's a ton of paperwork as well. So I put that in front of him. I said, hey, here's the structure that we would contract this deal under. I wanted to do a 5-year term with you, loan amount of $13 million of the 19.5, interest only. So that allowed me to buy an asset from him. I needed to raise the 6.5 to close it. And then we're raising additional capital to renovate, restabilize for the full business plan. And the 6.5 was purely because, one, he had, I think it was like $4.5 million of a loan from some big bank, Wells Fargo or JP Morgan or something, that we were going to pay off with our down payment. And then he gets roughly $500,000 to $1 million in cash in his pocket. But if you think about it, he is selling a $20 million asset and pocketing $1 million. And he's willing to do that because he is now going to get interest payments for 5 years.
Yeah, he's receiving $650,000 this next, this 12-month cycle.
Yeah.
That's going to him, which is amazing. Versus if you go to the traditional column, he wouldn't receive it. He wouldn't be receiving that additional $650,000 in interest if we just bought it with a traditional mortgage. He would have capital gains right out of the gate. He'd be, have to go find another place to put his money. Meanwhile, this guy's making $650,000 in interest this year in column 3. And the way that Ryan structured this, we get to save ourselves $600,000 a year in payments because of creative finance. And right now, a traditional real estate loan, going out and getting this would have been a similar down payment, similar loan payment, but the interest rate would have killed us. It would have doubled, almost doubled the entire amount.
Yeah, exactly. So especially when you're looking at like larger multifamily properties, value add properties, that payment can crush your investor return, right? So if I were to have to put traditional debt on that property, do you think I would be able to pay the same amount and still offer my investors that same return that we were offering for the fund?
Absolutely not. I mean,
absolutely not. That's right.
The way you structured this benefits the investors who are partners with us tremendously. I mean, you have an extra $600,000 a year to operate better. I mean, it would have killed the deal first and foremost. Yeah, there you go. So Vlad says it's a win-win. Guys, all of these deals that the Subto fund structures, Ryan is the head of the acquisitions on. He structures them to be a massive win-win for the seller. The seller got the number they wanted. They'll make an extra $650,000 since the day we bought it for the first 12 months. And, the preceding years after that, 650 grand. This guy will make in interest-only payments, saves us a ton of money, which if we save a ton of money, guess what our investors make? They make a better return. It's easier to operate. Brian Jensen says, Jamie, this is a good question for you. Who's managing these assets, Jamie?
So we have a third-party third-party property manager who's overseeing the day-to-day operations of the property. That includes everything from leasing and collecting rents, doing work orders, resident relations, things like that. We are in-house overseeing the asset management of the portfolio. That is a longer-term game, right? That's all about how the portfolio performs. In fact, I have a slide here that I can just share with you quickly. And that's just goes to show you that asset management doesn't start once you have an asset, right? It starts when you're looking at the asset. It starts with analyzing the underwriting. So when Ryan says, hey, I want to do this deal and I want to do this value add and I want to make sure that this will work for the fund, I have to be able to say, yes, I can make that asset perform to your underwriting. Yes, I can achieve those returns for the investors. Yes, we can improve the livability to the residents. So asset management starts, and that's why, early on, and that's why Ryan and I consider acquisition asset management, as a team.
Guys, by the way, people are asking about the deck that we're doing. Email invest@subtofund.com and somebody will email you guys the deck. Okay. Rashad says, any way we can get a copy of the presentation? Yes.
Yes.
Invest@subtofund.com. Email the team. They'll give you a copy of it. The other thing is, Jamie, what is the current occupancy rate on this 160 units? Because we have a guy named Arik who always asks he's like the most critical question asker of all time. God put him on this planet only to ask questions. He's one of those amazing brains. He says, third-party property management, What's our occupancy rate on this 160 units?
So our current physical occupancy right now today is 98%. I can tell you that there are 5 units that are pulled out of that numerator and denominator right now that are currently undergoing renovations so that we can do rent lifts and also improve the livability to the residents. And we're leased to 98%, which means somebody has told us that they will be moving out of their apartment by March or end of March. We have already released those to new residents. I can tell you, in addition to that the current MSA occupancy rate in Tucson is 89%. So we are far exceeding that.
MSA means basically basically the metro area, guys. There's an acronym for it.
Metropolitan Statistical Area. You got me on that one time.
Yeah.
I'll never forget.
We call also MSAs in Subto, we call them member success advisors. And so every time I hear MSA, I'm like, oh wait, hold on. Just the metro area, guys, the metro area. How do you find tenants? We won't cover that today. I think we got other things we want to cover. Yep. I want to get to the 21 unit deal. Are they all paying? Omar says.
We have very high collection rates. Yes, absolutely. Our economic occupancy is in line with our physical occupancy.
By the way, guys, one of the first things that Jamie did, as she's our asset manager, one of the first things that she did is the owner of this property for 35 years required the residents to pay with a physical money order. They were all going across the street to Circle K and paying like $7 to $12 a month for 35 years.
That's right.
She immediately converted that over, and people are now able to pay online, save themselves that extra money. And all the residents, by the way, one of the cool things about this property is that Jamie's already started renovations. We've already been turning some of the units over. We have a waiting list for people that are waiting to have their units renovated, updated, like the photos you see right here, so that, and they're in line knowing that their rent is going to increase because the property is so under rented, he hasn't raised rents adequately because he has not kept up on the property the way that we will.
Correct. The rents were significantly under market, which told us that there was opportunity here for growth. And since we've taken over the property, we've able to lift those rents by several $100s per unit per month. Overall, creating general value increase immediately.
There you go. So we've already started the renovation for this, which is awesome. We've already closed on this. So anybody that invests in the fund, you will immediately become a partner on this actual deal. This is not a deal that we're going to close on. This is a property that we currently own, and we are now raising money for the renovations. So if you go, oh, this is a possibility. No, we own this. It's occupied at 98%. It's cash flowing. It's making money. It has a creative finance loan on it. We are not playing around like the other fund people and syndicators that are out there going, oh my gosh, we can't do multifamily right now because we're using traditional finance. Ryan has structured an amazing deal. We own this today. So if you guys are saying, man, I want to get into a cash flowing asset today, invest at subtofund.com, send them an email and go, hey, Brittany, that's who will email you back and get on a phone call. Brittany, I want to get on a phone call and ask 100 questions about getting into the Subto fund, and she'll happily get on a phone call with you. How many people have talked to Brittany on our investor relations team and love her? Okay, so you see everybody, she's not here today, but Brittany is head of our investor relations department, and she'll get on the phone with you and chat with you and talk you through any questions that you have about being an investor, being a partner, all of those types of things. Darshan Patel says she's very responsive. Okay, Van Pham says, she's great. Cool. Okay, cool. I say we do 2 more minutes on this La Primera deal, and we go into the 21 unit.
Perfect. I want to tell you one quick story about this property and how it came to actually close on it. So after doing all of this kind of rapport with the broker and the seller, right? It's a little bit more in depth because it is a seller and a lender at the same time. Had a deal in place with what we wanted to buy. And then within a day before we go under contract, the broker and the seller tell me, whoa, there's a family office out of the East Coast that also want to buy this. They've been slow, but being a family office, they probably have more money in the world and they just have it sitting in the bank and they could probably just close it without the seller finance structure at all. So I was definitely upset about that, but I didn't let that ruin the deal for me. So I said, okay, listen, I understand all you're trying to do is whoever can close and whoever's the more likely candidate of closing. So I understand that we're all professionals. I didn't like the last minute nature of this, but I understand. I'm going to keep in touch in case anything changes though. So I followed back up with him. A week goes by, didn't hear anything one way or the other. And then another week goes by and I tell him, hey, what's going on? Are you still moving forward with that family office? And the broker, because of all of that work and the relationship that I had with him, which again, this takes years to develop, said to me, you know what, Ryan? They have not been as responsive as either I or the seller wanted. So we sent them a contract. They haven't even reviewed it yet. I think they're getting cold feet. If you can still do the deal with the terms that you said you could, we will pivot back to you. And I said, listen, it's only been 2 weeks. Like, the deal for us didn't change. I still think it's a great asset to buy for our fund. And he said, okay, we're going to drop escrow. We're going to void the contract with the other interested party and come back to you. But we're putting a lot of faith in you that you can close it. So they came back and we ultimately closed on the asset. But it was a little touch and go at the very beginning. And it just shows you that a lot of the follow-up and just being a professional in the space can bear fruit.
Yeah, a lot of other people would have been frustrated by that, right? They would have been like, that's messed up. We were having a conversation. Why would you do that to me? Guys, Ryan replied as a professional and said, no problem. Totally understand. If you go a different direction, no problem. Let's keep the relationship open and I'll keep following up. And Ryan did that. He kept following up and showing them that he was consistent and persistent. And the seller's like, man, that's the person I want to do a deal with. And so they went away from a family office to do a deal with Ryan. And then he structured it in the way that he structured it. And what's great is the team's been running this incredibly well. By the way, Brittany just asked me, she said, can I come on and say hi to everybody? Brittany, can you pop up here real quick? By the way, there's a lot of questions in the side chat. We have been laying out amazing stuff all day, and we won't be able to answer all the questions in the side chat. If you have a question, right? People say, what's my minimum? What's my return? I don't know. That's a great question. Let's say you and I are going to go do a fix and flip together. Lisa, who asked the question, you tell me to the dollar amount how much money that fix and flip is going to make. Can you determine that? It's impossible. We have projected returns and hopeful returns, but it's impossible to tell people what the actual, when is the Subto fund closing? The second we raise the money for the renovations, we are closing this fund. Let's see, let's add Brittany. Brittany, what's up?
Hi, I was here the whole time.
Oh, I didn't know that. Guys, this is Brittany. She is the head of the investor relations department. So this is the person that if you guys have a question, any question, whatever it is, what's the minimum? Throw them at her. invest@subtofund.com. That's the email that you'll get a hold of her on. She'll get on a phone call with you. She'll chat with you. You'll ask stuff like, what's my minimum investment? What's the difference between accredited versus non-accredited? When is the fund closing? What's my percentage of return? How long are you going to hold the money? What's the exit strategy? When are you planning on doing this? Are you selling it or are you keeping it? Are you going to refinance it? All of those questions that you are asking can be answered by Brittany in a phone call. Do we all agree with that?
Yes.
Give me a yes in the side chat if we all do we get depreciation? Do we get cash flow? What is the IRR? Damn, what is IRR? All of those questions can be answered by Brittany. Okay, we want to talk about the 21 unit deal today. Brittany, what meeting are you going to right now? You look like you're going to play golf.
You should have been at, which is a golf event.
Oh, what? I said no to that one?
You did. Well, you didn't say no, but you didn't say yes.
Okay, next one. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's kind of rainy out anyways. It's not the day.
Well, I would be raining birdies all over that freaking golf course today. Is it in Arizona?
Yeah, it's at Mountain Shadows.
Why did I say no?
Well, I think you're just like trying to figure things out, but just come next month before you go to Montana.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Also, what is a PPM? Can I read all the documents? Can you tell me all the risks associated with this? Every single question can be asked to Brittany. invest@subtofund.com. Give me a yes that you understand that. Everybody, we got 1,300 people on here. Give me a yes. Cool. What's happening is people ask all these questions. I wish we could get to them, but we really want to talk about the 21 unit, which is a new acquisition for us. It's in the pipeline to close. And we want to bring partners on. We want you guys to come along for the ride. And we want you guys to jump in not only on the deal, but we want also you guys to jump into the education of learning about these assets and how to run these assets. Okay. By the way, Brittany, you've been able to take some of our partners and they've been spending the day with Brittany learning how to raise capital in the office. How'd that go?
Yeah, that was really great. I was kind of nervous at first because, it's a lot of pressure pace, but it actually went really well. It was very intimate. I went through all of their own like fund of funds ideas and pitches and objections, and we were able to really like hone in, create a nice pipeline and process for them. So I'm doing my second one on Monday, actually.
And these are partners of ours in the Subto fund. They're getting access to you in the office.
Yeah. And then someone, was great. They referred another investor that they do work with. So it was great to just kind of extend the community and the investor, pool. So it was really good.
I love it. I love it.
Well, and then on Wednesday, Brittany's going to be hosting our semesters training, which is going to be all about investor relations, marketing, your
Yes,
fund,
please show up.
protecting your pitch, overcoming objections. She's going to share all of that with everyone.
Love it.
So, bring your objections and sales ideas as far as pitches go for your funds and properties and all that good stuff. And I'll try and answer all of them if I can.
Nicole Washington says, we hear you breathing pace. I'm so sorry, guys. I went and ran 5 miles today and I'm still catching my breath 2 hours later. So sorry about that.
Brittany takes our breath away.
Brittany takes our breath away. What is that one called, Debbie Hendricks? She said the course. It's the current semester that we're in the middle of right now. It's like class number 6, I think, that we're on next week.
And it's called the Multifamily Investing semester.
Cool. Next semester will be all about fund of funds, everybody. Okay, cool. Brittany, go make some birdies.
I will.
Okay.
I'll let you know if I
Brittany.
get my first one. I've yet to do that, but
Just use the foot wedge. That's the best club to use. Just use the foot wedge. Just kick it towards the hole. You'll make a birdie.
okay.
All right. Brittany, guys, she's the person that will answer your questions when you email invest@subtofund.com. All right, Ryan, let's go through the 21 unit deal.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so before I get into that, I want to talk about how we got into it. And again, so I'm going to break down multiple sources as well after we go through this about kind of what I do and where these deals come from. So people can start to think about like their deals in the future, kind of that potential step number 2, or also why they would trust us if they were doing a fund to fund. So property number 2 for this fund is 21 units, right? It's right in the heart of Tucson. And again, it was a broker relation that I'm constantly kind of meeting up with people, going out for coffee, getting on the phone, just trying to build friendships and relationships with other professionals in the space, right? It's not just transactional. So he had informed me of a deal that kind of met what our buy box would be. And we got under contract. And these deals take time, right? That the first property number 2 was a process that took a couple of months, right? We got into contract, we went through due diligence, and we discovered in that there were some pretty substantial structural problems with that deal. So we're like, wow, like this is not the property for us to buy for this fund. It's too risky. But keeping a professional relationship with that broker, literally on my drive back up to Scottsdale, he called me up and said, hey, Ryan, I know that we just toured, you were just doing all of your due diligence for property number 2. I agree it's a little risky, but I just got off the phone with another property owner. And these guys are, I mean, every single day, they're utilizing their relationships directly with property owners to try to find a opportunity to sell. And he said, hey, I know you're halfway up to Phoenix right now, but I just got word back from another property owner. It's just down the street. It's still 21 units, and I think it's a better deal for you, honestly. Do you want to see it? You could still be going forward with our current deal, but if you're not, there's another one that I want you to look at. So of course I was like, okay, yeah, let me drive back into town, and we toured it late that night, and I was like, okay, you know what? I actually think it's a better deal for our fund. It's the same broker, and it had so many other things going forward that were better, that I was like, yeah, you know what? We're gonna be pivoting away from property 2 to property 2.1, right? So it not only was the same units, it structurally was better. And then the seller, so an issue that I was working through for the first property 2 was assumable financing. So that was an assumable loan through a third-party bank, in essence, that I was going to take on their note. So again, that it's just like getting a new loan, though, right? You're going through all the steps, providing information. And this other property, though, I'll call it 2.1, was an assumable seller financed property. So it was crazy because we dub ourselves the creative finance fund, right? So not only was it a seller financed property, I was able to assume the original seller financing. And
Guys,
it was,
so think about that. The owner that Ryan structured the deal with bought the property on seller financing. Ryan structured a way to take over the terms of that seller financing from the previous owner. Like that is creative finance, next level, black belt ninja style. Ryan Wagner needs a freaking black belt. That's super creative. Assuming another seller finance note. This is not assuming a bank note. This is assuming a seller finance note that the seller already purchased the property with seller finance. Super ninja.
yeah, it was incredible. So once I got that note in hand, so I had the broker send it over, I had a quick conversation, right? So I was, hey, I want to be able to assume this note that's in place. Is the seller, 1, interested in that? And 2, we would be a better qualified buyer or operator than the current. So you should put faith in us that not only will we buy it, we'll also satisfy that loan that's in place. And he agreed. So we quickly went through our due diligence on this property, got it under contract. Jamie and I worked hand in hand, blitzing the property, and then working around the seller. The reason why they were selling is because they're getting out of multifamily. They're getting into an entire different line of commercial real estate.
They're doing restaurants, right?
They're doing restaurants, exactly. Yep. So they're opening a chain of restaurants, and he needed our commitment to satisfy a commitment that he was moving forward with. So again, it just goes back into like how strong of a relationship you are, the credibility you have, and what you've done to actually get into that contract. So it was a 21 unit deal, just like the other one, 21 units built in the early 80s, 2 stories with a ton of value add available at that property, with very minimal, structural issues like the other property had that we dropped.
I love it. A couple questions. If I invest today, this is Oren asking this, if I invest now, will I get access to the previous lessons in the semester?
Yep.
Yes. All
Yes.
investors get access to this semester's training courses.
Yes, and you'll get access to next week's live training going forward. All the live training, you're going to be with Ryan and Jamie, and Brittany, and the whole team, Ted Head. Who else is teaching those classes in the fund?
Adam did the creative financing. Brittany does the investor relations. I'm doing asset management and fund management, and Ryan's doing acquisition, origination, and writing.
Love that. Is there a minimum amount to invest? Ulysses, you and a lot of people have asked that question. Get your fingers typing the words in an email to Brittany, invest@subtofund.com. Brittany, can I chat with you? Can I get on a call with you? Can I ask you 5 questions? Here's what's going to happen. You'll not just ask her 1 question. You'll ask her 5 questions. You'll ask her 6 questions. Build a relationship with her. Jennifer Champion says they respond right away. Shango says, what's Brittany's email?
Invest@subtofund.com.
Invest@subtofund.com.
That's
Do you
it.
see why I have to repeat myself 18 times, everybody?
So that's the wrong question, by the way. Don't ask what the minimum investment is. You should be asking, how much can I invest in this? I want returns. I want passive income. I want access to your team. I want credibility. I want to expand my portfolio. How much can I gain from this? Not what is the minimum amount of flair. Just saying.
Love it.
Yeah.
Different mindset, right? Think bigger, right?
That's
Think
right.
bigger, my friends. Think bigger.
Because every one of these properties as well, right? Because of the creative finance nature, we saw it earlier. The cash flow is going to be higher, so your returns are going to be higher.
When are we expecting to be fully subscribed? That's a question where they're asking, here's what they're actually asking. I don't want to miss the opportunity. When is it too late to invest? I would say we're primarily just we have the money to buy this 21 unit. So we've already raised enough money to buy and close that out. We're just raising money for the renovation. That's it. That's all we have. By the way, who's the biggest investor in this fund? Me.
That's it right there.
I'm not only part of the fund. Okay. I'm not just one of the owners of the fund. I am the largest investor in the fund because I believe in Ryan. I believe in Jamie. I believe in Brittany and our team. I am the largest investor. That's how much I believe in the fund. And I've always told people, I go, if you ever invest more than me, you can spend a week with me. Good luck. I will continue to put money into this because I believe in it so much. We are the only, there you go. Pierre says pace. You put your money where your mouth is. That is correct. Why would you close it out? Why not keep it going for other projects? Naveen, what you do is you close out a fund so you can focus on that fund. And then what you do is you pause for probably 3 to 6 months until you accumulate another pipeline full of deals. And then you open up a new fund for those specifically deals. We'll probably not do another fund specifically. We'll probably do a syndication next, which will be target specific. Here's the asset type of thing. You're always closing funds. That's always what you want to do. You want to close the fund out, then reopen it when you get a new set of assets. Multifamily is different than single family, guys. I know a lot of people in here are in our single family world. We're not buying a rental every week in multifamily. In single family, we could go keep a fund open forever and just keep accumulating single family homes, but that's not how it works, right? You are not always in capital raising mode and bringing in new investors. You want to be focusing on raising rents and improving the asset. And then Ryan starts working on negotiating new deals and filling the pipeline again. So there's a pause between acquisitions. You might go, some of our friends that own funds, they go 2 years between, launching a new fund, right? Depending on the size of the deals. So, I love that. Oren says, I invested. I don't even care about the returns, which we want you to care about the returns, but I know what you're saying. He's saying, I'm here for all the bonuses. Thank you so much. I appreciate you knowing that these are all massive bonuses that we're bringing to the table and dedicating our time to improving your guys' life above and beyond the rate of return that we're all fighting for you to get as well. Bob,
it truly is how your fund stands apart, Pace, you and what you offer to everyone.
thank you for that. Bob said, here's what I love about Bob. Bob says, I'm invested, but I'm actually investing more this week. This is actually what's cool is a lot of the investors are like, oh, we have a new 21 unit. We need more renovation. They're actually reinvesting and adding to what they've already invested. So thank you for that, Bob. I really appreciate that. You know what we should do? It's 12 o'clock. We've been on here for 2 hours. Here's what we should do. Guys, we'll do an internal Zoom for anybody that's a partner of ours. Maybe even Brittany might even do like another like Q&A for people that have a ton of questions. What you should do is email invest@subtofund.com. Jamie, you had a QR code. Maybe people could just snap that. We pull that up real quick. Dylan, email me, pacejmorby@me.com. I'll give you an LOI. Okay. Invest@subtofund.com or do the QR code.
Yep. The LOI template also is going to be part of our semester's course.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And don't email me, Dylan. It'll be in the semester's course. Dave Starr says, should I invest from my personal account or wait for the LLC to be funded? Again, great question. We've been on here 2 hours. Email invest@subtofund.com. Get on a phone call with Brittany and ask her, what are other people doing? What are the other investors doing? Dave Starr says, I did. Perfect. Jamie, Ryan, thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun. Did everybody get a lot of value today? Did we give you tons of notes and tons of understanding of a lot of things you did not understand? Is it too early to give the address of the 21 unit? Yes, we are closing that asset in 2 days. So yes, it is too early to give you the address because, you know, right now we're live on YouTube as well. We've got a couple hundred people on YouTube watching. Nothing against YouTubers, but typically the YouTubers are the ones when I'm calling a seller live or a broker live, they go, oh, I can see the address on Pace's screen. They call the seller and they go, did you know that Pace Morby is on YouTube right now streaming his phone call with you live? That stuff happens all the time. And so you want to be aware of that when you're raising money and you're putting this kind of stuff together. So in 3 days after we've closed escrow, everybody that's interested in investing and people that are partners with us, you guys will get the whole deck, the address, all the things. And next week we'll be in a live class with everybody as partners. Okay. Jamie, Ryan, guys, should we give Jamie and Ryan a little bit of love in the side comments? I want to see 1,000 thank yous, 1,000 people giving some appreciation for them spending the time and energy today. It costs a lot of money to do this, costs money to do this. And people that have paid for multifamily education probably came in here and go, dang, man, these guys are better educating us than the people I paid money to. Website again is email is invest@subtofund.com. The email or the website is subto, SUBTO, fund, FUND, subtofund.com. Okay. Jamie, Ryan, thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out with us. I appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank you
for
guys.
Had a great time.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. All right. So I'm going to name a couple more people. How about that? We'll name some more people to the day with Pace. You guys cool with that? So we do a little bonus for the people that stuck around today. All right. Who bought a ticket to Squat Up Summit today? Okay, cool. Trey's like, I won a ticket. Love it. By the way, everybody in Subto and Gator on Sunday, we've got about 10 community members that are going to donate 10 tickets to Squat Up Summit on Sunday because they can't make it. And so they're like, I can't make it. I've got, I'm giving birth. Something's going on at my college, whatever it is. And they're like, I want to buy a ticket for somebody else. I want to donate it. That's happening on Sunday. We'll email that out to everybody. Dennis Brooks says, I bought it today. Okay. Who has a ticket? Who has a ticket but has not been picked? Squat Up Summit is our event that's coming up on April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We've got Grant Cardone coming. Cody Sanchez is speaking. We've got Donald Miller coming. It's a 3-day event, April 23rd, 24th, 25th in April. And it is in Orlando. It is our first big event. Should have about 2,000 to 2,500 people there. We're trying to get the venue to give us more space, but sadly, it is hard to tell them, hey, we're going to have 2,000 people and then go to 2,500. Okay. Heidi Pliam. Heidi Pliam. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, but Heidi Pliam. Okay. That's one. Angelica Villanueva. She is naming somebody named Martin Valencia. Man, I got allergies like crazy today. I got to go get a Claritin. Casey Savage. I already named you, actually. Oh no, I named Casey Carlson. Casey Savage, I'll choose you today. I got 2 KCs today. Okay, let me give you 3 more people. 3 more people. David Bader. By the way, if I pick you and you don't have a Squat Up Summit ticket, which it has happened, my team will just tell you straight up, sorry, you have to have a ticket to Squat Up Summit for this reward. Okay, let's see here. Norman Fuller says, I'm buying VIP. Norman Fuller, I will select you. You get to meet, there's like 2 sessions that are with the speakers, like, you know, Donald Miller and stuff like that, the VIP get. Like special sessions with them in a more intimate room. Bob Lays, I'm going to name you Bob because you invested in the Subto fund twice. I love that. Reward, reward, reward. All right, there's the 6 names. Heidi Pliam, Martin Valencia, Casey Savage, David Bader, Norman, and Bob Lays. Who do we email? We email Saravi at subto.com. Saravi at subto.com, or actually Saravi S, SURAVIS at subto.com. Email her, let her know that I picked you today, and I will send her a screenshot of all these people I wrote in my notepad. And everybody inside of Subto and Gator, I'm jumping into a Zoom right now with Cody Barton. And that Zoom is talking about a business we bought in June of last year, the plant guy. And we're going to be talking about the updates and how much money it's making. I'm going to be in that Zoom right now. I'm jumping in there. So if you guys are in Subto or Gator, come over and hang out with us. We're going to be in that Zoom starting 9 minutes ago. That's actually why I'm wrapping this up a little bit early. Not early. I'm 9 minutes late. I said I'd be in here for an hour and a half. So plant guy updates. We're going to be talking about that right now. Cody's starting